Hello everyone, my name's Tomco, and today I'm showing you how to make 5 super fun and super Christmassy redstone builds for Minecraft Bedrock. Alright, so to begin with, we just have to start with the redstone Christmas tree. I mean, this truly is the tree of all time. If I actually remember to turn it on, that is. But just like in real life, the switch is at the bottom of the tree, and when you flick it, this thing really starts coming to life. But I think it looks even cooler when it's dark out. And if you were to switch the lever for a daylight sensor, you can make it so it only turns on at night and turns off in the day. Alright, so to build it, this is everything you're going to need. Just to let you know, the colourful candles on daylight sensors, they are purely optional. Then once you got everything, you want to find yourself a relatively flat area, and then place down your bottom log block. Then on top of your log, place down a redstone torch, get out some copper bulbs, place copper bulbs going all the way around this torch. Just before you place the last one, jump up and then place it. On top of the torch, place an observer facing upwards, like so. Bulb on top of the observer, observer on top of the bulb again, then one last bulb on top of that observer. By the way, you want to make sure that these 2 copper bulbs are actually turned on, and to do that, get out your lever and simply right click it on this copper bulb, and that will turn that one on. Then do the same thing for the one up there. So now all of them are on. Then come around to the bottom of your trunk, come around to the back. You want to dig yourself out a little hole for our redstone clock. That should be sufficient. Get out some temporary blocks. I'm going to use a dirt block. Place it at the bottom left corner over here. Get out some redstone torches. Place one on the right hand side of that. Crouch, place an observer on top of the torch, going into the log. Just like so. So by the way, the arrow is pointing up towards into the log. Get out a repeater. Place a repeater coming away from the torch. Set that to 4 ticks. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeater going into the block. Also set that to 4 ticks. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then get out your 2 dust. Place it behind here, just like so. So now if we were to jump out, it starts flashing. We can then cover up the floor and whack down your lever here, and this will be the on/off switch. So you can kind of see it's starting to look like a tree, but now it's time to start decorating it with leaves. So to do that, come round to the bottom and place leaves going all the way around the copper bulbs like I do now. So you've pretty much just made a 5x5 square, just leaving out these corners. Then jump up and do the same thing again, just 1 block in. Then come around to each side and place an extra leaf block in the middle of your platform. So far it looks something like this from the top. Then come to each side of this totem pole we've made and stack up 3 leaves blocks. So 1, 2, 3 over here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Then come around to each corner and place an extra leaf block at the bottom. So 1 here, here, and here. And finally, place 2 leaf blocks on the very top of the copper bulb. So 1 and 2. And just like that, we have made our tree shape. But whilst we're up here, you want to get out your candle and your bell. Place a temporary block on top of your leaves. Temporary block below your feet. Yellow candle on top of this block. Then place your bell on the bottom side of it. And just like that, our star has been created. So now all you have to do is to decorate it. I like to decorate mine with colourful candles, but you can do whatever you want. Just to let you know, you can't place candles directly on the leaf. You have to place a temporary block, place your candle in, then replace it with your leaf block. And just like that, I very briefly decorated my tree. Also, if you want it to only turn on during the night time, all you gotta do is remove your lever and simply replace it with a daylight sensor. And as you can see, since it's daytime, it turns off. Alright, so moving on, our next build is a dance floor which just so happens to be located underneath the floor. It may not be too Christmassy, but come on, it's definitely fun. And if you listen closely, this thing makes a really satisfying noise. So to build this one, this is everything you're going to need. Just to let you know, the copper bulb and the 2 observers, they are what you need per tile. So you have to times this by how many tiles you want in your dance floor. And you're also going to have to dig yourself a 3-block deep pit, and that your pit has a 1-block center. So once you've dug out your area, come round to the front, get yourself lined up with the middle block, and come 2 blocks in from the front, so 1 and 2. On this block, place the repeaters facing right, just like so, and set it to 4 ticks. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just in front of it, just behind it, one more dust to the left of that, repeater going into that dust, leave it on 1 tick, then place a comparator behind the repeater, so far, it looks something like this. Then, right click the comparator, setting it into subtract mode. Block behind the comparator, just on top of the block, then make your way out of the pit, place a block on top of this dust, and this is where your lever is going to sit. So if we turn it on, the clock turns on, we turn it off, the clock turns off. And now it's time for you to get your observers and copper bulbs out. So coming away from this repeater, place a row of observers going towards the back. Just like so. Then coming off these observers, place 2 observers either side of it going into your side walls. Not like that. They should be going into each other like mine are here. So do that for every single one of these observers. So in total, it should look something like this depending on how big you made it. Make sure that all these triangles are facing the right way. But once you have done, place observers facing upwards on top of all the observers you just placed. And there we go. Then finally, place your copper bulbs above every single one of your observers. Almost done now. You can then fill in the floor, since I made a massive mess. And just like that, you have yourself your working dance floor. We can turn it on, and it turns on. Awesome. We can turn it off, and of course, it turns off. Perfect. Alright, so next up we have ourselves a pop-up snowball cannon. So when I flick this lever, our machine quite literally pops up out of the ground, firing snowballs at our target block over there. This thing is absolutely ridiculous. I love it. But once we're done firing snowballs, we can of course retract it back into the ground and nobody would ever know it's here. But you don't just have to use snowballs. I may have made a mistake. This is mental. So to build this one, this is everything you're going to need. And of course you can replace the concrete powder with any type of gravity block, so sand or dragon eggs or anvils if you want to go that far. And of course bring yourself some blocks to actually build it out of. But you're going to have to get yourself a 3-block wide by 5 blocks long by 4-block deep pit. And our cannon will be facing that way. So drop down and come round to the back side of your walls, and then place 3 tiki pistons in a row from the back to the front. So 1, 2 and 3. Then place 1 more on top of all of these. Go around to the backhand wall, jump and place a dispenser going into the wall, just like that. You can then fill it with all your projectiles, so in this case, 16 snowballs. Then behind that, get out your observers, place 1 here at the back, just like so. Then place a block to the left hand side of this wall, place a resin torch on top of the block, that'll lock up the dispenser, then place an observer on the back side of this one so it makes ourselves a clock. But it won't trigger this since it's already been triggered by that torch. Then place 2 slabs below this block, so 1 here and 1 here. Just along both of those. Block here, dust here. Repeater here, set that to 3 ticks, so 1, 2 and 3. 4 pieces of dust here. Block up at the end to the right of the dispenser. 2 slabs here. Dust along both of those. Slab here at the end. Repeater coming away from this dust. Set it to 3 ticks, so 1, 2 and 3. Block in front of it. Miss a block, block below it. Then placing dust here, just like so. Then place a block on top of your dust, and this is where your lever is going to sit. Then place your 3 concrete powder blocks on top of the dispenser and your 2 observers. That is actually everything done. And we'll just do this real quick. Cover up the floor. And I've made myself quite literally a weapon. That is mental. Look at the snowballs too. Right, that's enough of that for now. Alright, so next up we have a really cozy toggleable fireplace. So our fireplace is currently off. We flip the switch, it turns on. We flick it again, it turns off, on, off, you get what I mean, right? But this thing is really fun to use and its redstone is so simple. And taking a look at it, this is quite literally everything to it. It could not be made any easier. So to build this one, this is everything you're going to need. Once again, bring yourself some blocks to actually build it out of. So you're going to have to dig yourself a 3 block long by 5 block wide by 2 block deep pit. So 1 block in front of the fireplace, 2 blocks either side of it. But then once you get everything sorted, place a regular piston to the left hand side of the wall, one to the right hand side, then get out a solid block, place it below the piston, and rock your lever on the front of it, just like so. This is going to be your input block. Then get out your 2 dispensers, place one to the right hand side of this piston, one more to the right hand side of that, just like so. Then come round to the back, get out a repeater, place it to the left hand side of this block, and set it to 2 ticks, so 1 and 2. Block in front of it, torch on top, no, torch to the left hand side of the block on top of the torch, dust to the left of the torch, it should turn on, block in front of the dust, and finally dust on top of the block. So in this left dispenser, put in flint and steel, put in your water bucket to the right hand side one, and now we can test it out. So flick it turns on, flick it again, it turns off. Perfect. And if you wanted to move your lever, all you got to do is link up a redstone line going into that block, going into your new lever position, which I'm a whack right here. As you can see, it still works. And then last but certainly not least, we have pop-up presents. Alright, so here's my pretty normal looking Christmas tree until of course you look behind it and it reveals a pretty sus looking lever. I wonder who placed that there. But when we flick it, it pops up our hidden presents. Look how awesome that was. Yes, I know they are just chests, but come on, they have things inside of them, so I'm classing that as a present. So to build the final one, this is everything you're going to need. Once again, bring yourself some blocks to actually build it out of. And then you are going to have to dig yourself a 3 blocks long by 5 blocks wide by 4 block deep pit area. Alright, so to start off with, jump around to the bottom, come directly below your chest, and place 2 sticky pistons facing upwards, just like so. Come a block up and place pistons either side of it on the wall, so one over here facing inwards, one over here facing upwards. Place your half slab on the top half of this sticky piston, just like so, jump, place dust on top of that, block to the right of it, repeater on top of this block pointing that way, set to 4 ticks. So repeater, 2 ticks, 3 ticks, and 4 ticks. Then place 2 blocks here, just on top of both of those, block up here, come around over here. On this block you can place a repeater going into this sticky piston. It might be a bit of a nightmare to place, so I suggest you dig out the floor a bit, but then place your repeater, keep it on 1 tick, then add in your floor again. Place 2 repeaters here, set the first one to 2 ticks, so 1, 2, and second one to 4. Block in front of the 4th one, just on top of the block on top of that, the block to the left hand side of this dust, just like so. Then make your way out of here. I am destroying the walls a bit. Come around to the top, place an observer here going into your sticky piston. Not like that, so the arrow is pointing in towards your sticky piston. Block to the left of that sticky piston at the bottom, repeater going into this sticky piston, and then finally a redstone torch on the right hand side of the block, just like so. So in total it looks like this. Then finally place a lever on top of that block, and that's going to be your input block. You can then remove this chest, place your floor block here, chest on here, and now we can test it out. So when we flick it, our chest gets popped up, perfect. We flick it again, it all gets popped down. Awesome. So once again, this is going to be an input block, but if you want to move your lever, you have to attach a repeater going into your block, then wiring, and then you can attach it to a new lever over here. As you can see, it still works perfect. And then of course, fill in the rest of your floor so it's actually hidden away. Perfect. But anyways, that is all the builds done. If I don't see you beforehand, I wish every single one of you a very, very Merry Christmas and of course a Happy New Year. But that's all from me, and I'll see you all later. Bye.